So this is kind of like a surprise move where I pushed up. His knight was out, developed to free up the king to castle into safety on the king's side, but he neglected that with my queen being out and my bishop being free, that that once I pushed that pawn up or pushed the pawn up, he would have a little bit of trouble. He'll be trapped. So since he was trapped, he gave up the bishop. Bishop time bishop. And now I'm just free to just be aggressive and just every attack that he does, leads to a counterattack and aggressive play on my part. As you can see, I'm keeping that knight pinned in there. My queen is preventing him from castling because I'm attacking that rook, and anyway, it's open since the G pawn, the G2 pawn is gone. So on G2 is gone, so all that side is open there and ready, accessible for attack and eventually checkmate. But anyway, as you can see, the beauty of the bishop pinning in that knight, because if he moves the knight to attack my queen, and then at the same time, as you see, the bishop and the queen are beautifully protecting the center or controlling the center squares, that pawn as well, the auxiliaries along with the bishop. So it gives me a lot of leeway. So now he has to either move his rook or move his pawn up, but then his pawn is not protected, even if he goes there to try to protect the knight or to block the queen from taking his rook. So then that would just open up or cause more damage. So yeah, apparently the obvious, it looks like, he can just push up, but as you can see, his F2 or F pawn has no support, as we already mentioned. So that's an easy take. I could have came in more aggressive with the queen, but I just wanted to play this out and see how it plays out. So we got the queen and bishop controlling the center squares. Also have access and broke up F2 and G2 to open up the left flank on the king side, attacking, pinning in the knight, and at the same time attacking the rook on H1. Okay, so this was kind of a surprise where he decided to attack my queen, or attack the queen, while leaving his rook and queen exposed to the bishop. But as you can see, since I already know that the knight is weak, whether it was pinned or whether it's attacking, so I just counterattack by just moving up the queen to check, and also continue to pin on the knight. So the knight is immobile and easy for taking. Checking the king. The king has to he has to move the knight back, or he has to find a way to, or he has to move the king. So he's in a really dire position. His rook is still free or still undefended. His queen is still his queen is defended by the king, but once he moves the king, his queen is also undefended. Okay, so he decides to go all out and and defend. Even though the queen cannot defend herself, she decides to block, and as last resort, desperation, last samurai suicide move, stand in front of the king, which I would think that he would have opted for moving the knight back to be in front of the king, pinned in again, but that didn't happen. Then just lose the rook. Okay, so I just go ahead and just take the queen with the bishop instead of with the queen. No need to exchange queens in this sense, since once I take the queen, the bishop, I still have a line of sight of attack on the rook, or a line to take the rook when he decides, or if he decides to take the knight and go back and defend the king, and also exchange his queen for the bishop. Okay. And of course, I try to pin him in, keep him in there a little bit longer, not give him too many options. Okay, the king has in check. It must move or block or defend. He has nothing to really defend it, so he moves the king. Okay, I continue my destruction of the king side or left flank. Check, and then he moves the king. Now the king is even more exposed out there, out of safety and in the center. And as you can see, his forces are pretty much undeveloped. You have three major pieces just sitting on the queen side, right flank, not able to engage or join the battle, while the black pieces have a queen that is very active and just pursuing the king. So I decide, or the black pieces decide to develop a knight, or develop their pieces a little bit more, and decided to, before he could develop or bring out his queen side pieces, to destroy the queen side by taking the bishop, capturing the bishop, Okay, classic is weak move, but at the same time, he attacks the queen, most likely to try to wind down the black piece's time, since he knows he's in a really bad condition. Okay, and that was a slip up. But as you can see, even if there's a slip up and the queen took the wrong pawn, leaving it exposed to the knight, there's still so many pieces that can fight and attack the king that is completely exposed. Check. And I just start developing pieces. Okay, I'm ahead of pieces, so whenever you're ahead, you trade down or exchange down, or exchange because you're ahead in pieces. So it makes sense, and it gives your opponent less options. So now continue my original plan to destroy the queen side, the opponent's queen side. Keep the king defended. Okay. And as you can see there, that didn't make any sense at all. When you have that king pawn on e7, heavily defended by a king, a bishop, and a knight. So that might have been a slip up in response to being nervous, running out of time, and under pressure. So I decided to take it with the bishop instead of the knight. To give myself, or give the king, a little bit more wiggle room in case he tries to come down there with his rook. Check. Okay, so he has one major piece in the fight. That was kind of a slip up, but there's so many pieces that I can afford to slip up and lose a few pieces. So now I'm just trying to wind down his time, but as you can see, I'm probably a little bit more pressed for time than the opponent. So now it's just time to apply the superior pieces. Could have went ahead and took his rook, but it was a slip up, and I moved the pawn instead. Moved the h pawn instead. So he decides to take to wind down my time, and I decided to go for the queen to make it a little bit easier to gain back some time. Check. And then just trap him up on the first and second columns there. That queen check forces him to go back to the second column. The second rank. That passed pawn is not going to make it, so not really concerned about that. Just concerned about the time, which is winding down, and he has more time than I do. So I have to speed this up. So he pushes the pawn down instead of using that pawn, to hide behind, which I would never understand, but you would think that he would try to push his passed pawn, and maybe I slip up and he gets a queen, which really won't help him, but still, at least he tried until the very end. Okay, so now he understands the predicament he's in because he cannot move. He's highly exposed. He cannot hide like he should have behind the pawn or use that pawn for a cover. So now he's forced to go back to the first rank. All right. So he tries to distance himself, but as you could see, the queen and the rook is doing the long range plan and controlling the opponent's king like a puppet master. Checkmate. I really had to talk about this game. Starts off normally, exchange pawns, then opponent does the normal chase the queen. So normally I don't play the bishop to protect the king, but I said, okay, oh well, I just give myself an extra chance to castle and free up get that knight out there into play, into battle. Did the normal, okay, he comes there, attacking the pawn on the king's side, trying to create a fork where he could come in there and just steal my rook, but I could either castle to avoid that, or I could just go ahead and take his knight. I didn't take his knight because I slipped up, castled instead. Or forgot to, took a pawn, moved the king over, but it was the second time he trapped his knight, and so he puts the knight back. I could take it again, but then I slip up, make a mistake, and give him three chances to save his knight. Okay, the classic attack the queen. I go up there, attacking the knight, being aggressive. Okay, he comes in there with the knight, attacking the queen. Normally that would frighten most players off, where they would just go ahead and move the queen out the way, and then the opponent will go ahead and take the knight, exchange knights, or take the knight if the queen doesn't move into a position to protect the knight. Okay, but as you can see, I didn't give him a fourth chance to save that knight after he made that error in attacking my queen. Okay, and I'm also at the same time still protecting my knight. Okay, I checked him, so he doesn't take exchange knights because he's in check. He has to move the king. Okay, so I'm just being aggressive and just place the knight up there. attacking that pawn where the king is at, right there. Okay, classic opponent. They see you up there too close, up in their territory. So basically what he's trying to do is just get my knight to go away, because my knight's a threat. So of course I just go backwards, stay in the fight with the knight. Okay, he decides not to take the knight right away, so he moves the king over. I'm not sure why he does that, but I guess basically probably, I don't know, maybe he wants to, move all his other pieces over like his queen. And, but to me, it seems like he's just backing himself up into a corner. So I said, okay, let me go ahead and free my other pieces, get them into the fight. All right, so he moved. I don't know why he did that, but he played into my hands where he just moved his king right into the line of sight of the bishop and the queen and the knight, which is crazy because you would think you would keep the king within, keep the king safe or protect the king. But it doesn't look like the player is trying to do that. All right, so now he reveals his true intentions to go ahead and just start trying to free up his, looks like he was just trying to come out there in a stupid way, free up his rook. So his true intentions get revealed so he could bring his rook down there, probably attack my queen. But instead he attacked first with the pawn. So in that situation was a really bad move. But even if he came and took his rook, attacking my queen, it'll still be the same situation, because now I would have a rook, in the mix, or be able to take a rook. Once I exchange knights, attacking the rook, also at the same time forking the king and the rook with the knight. So he attacks. It's a beautiful setup because it looks like I'm just being attacked, and I'm in a very weak position, but I'm actually very aggressive and have a really strong position. As you can see, I'm controlling the center more than he is, even though he does have some pieces there. And he's trying to regain the center mass there, or the center columns. So those center four squares. But it looks like that I'm dominating right now. It gives me a lot of power. So all I do is just something simple. He thinks I'm gonna move my queen and get scared and nervous like most other opponents. But basically, I give him a surprise by, okay, yeah, you attack my queen, but I attack your king. And guess what? You have to move your king first. So in that situation right there, the knight, because the knight is a brilliant piece in this position, to deal in this situation, whereas the bishop is long range with check. The opponent can't even push the pawn up next to the king to protect the king. And the knight is beautiful because not only is checking, it took his knight while my queen is being attacked. he can't even take with his queen or take with his pawn the knight to stop the checkmate or stop the attack on the king, which is beautiful because he's in check. He has to move the king. You know, he can't take another piece, or can't take my queen, he can't take my knight. He has to move the king. He couldn't move the king because the knight was in the beautiful position where it could not be taken or exchanged by the opponent. And at the same time, it's also controlling that back rank square where the king cannot, that black square, on G8, and it's controlling the and it's attacking the king on the H2 square. So, and the bishop is just sitting back, chilling, relaxing, doing the long range attack as well. So he's being checked by two different pieces, or attacked by two different pieces, the knight and the bishop at the same time. So, taking the knight, and there's no way he can attack the bishop because the bishop is long range. And the knight is attacking those two major squares up there. So it's just an amazing, just a brilliant game. Checkmate.